everybody. Told you I had y'all. Now, with all that being said, let's start off the episode, man. What is good, you guys? Again, this is your boy Randy Anderson with the Average Guy Podcast on the Average Guy Studios, and you guys know how we do it. Sports are going to be talked about real quick. So let's talk about sports because ain't nobody else here. Let's get on to these playoffs, you guys. All right, let's talk about the second game of the Cleveland Cavaliers versus the Boston Celtics. Woo! Go ahead, Lauren. Give us your take.
So, I think a lot of what Cleveland's problems come down to coaching. My expectation in this series was that, Tyronn Lue would try to match youth with youth, which means you have to play more Larry Nance, which means you have to play more, what's my guy's name? Jordan
Clarkson.
Whoever. Yeah, Clarkson. Jordan Clarkson. I just felt like you needed some younger legs, at least put them in a rotation and give them some minutes because, everybody knew Boston had young guns, and it was just a matter of how well they were going to play. I don't want to give all the credit to Brad Stevens because even with a great coach, the players still have to come out and play. And so I think that, obviously he's done a phenomenal job having his players ready to play. From Cleveland's perspective, the first game, I think they just kind of got rolled. The second game, it was just down the stretch. Again, that's when you talk about the old legs and getting tired of having to go up and down the court with the young guns. I think they ran out of steam. Cleveland lives and dies by the three. If the three is going down, they're hard to beat. When the three is not going down, they rely on LeBron way too much. Again, I didn't watch the first game too much, but the second game, I just really felt like Lue just didn't have a great coaching strategy to combat when his team got tired. And sometimes you just have to burn timeouts just to get rest. And, I know I say it like a broken record, but I feel like Cleveland's woes are due to Tyronn Lue not asserting his leadership onto that team and allowing LeBron to dictate way too much.
Okay.
But if Boston takes one in Cleveland, I'll call the series over. But until they do that, I'm not going to call the series over yet. You're supposed to win the first two games at home. It's home court advantage. You're supposed to. If Cleveland takes two, Cleveland takes 2 games in Cleveland. I think that bodes better for Cleveland than it does Boston. I think Boston needs to keep their foot on Cleveland's throat because if Cleveland finds a way to climb out of this 0-2 hole and make it 2-2 and even the series, it's anybody's series at that point with the best player in the world on Cleveland.
Okay, all right. Corey, what you got for us?
Got it. Danny Ainge is King Midas, man. Everything he touches is gold. Yeah, man, those guys are amazing, man. And they're just firing from all cylinders, man. You got the rookies. Jason Tatum's definitely stepped his game up to another level these playoffs, man. Jaylen Brown doing what he does. I don't think Cleveland really has much. They just they have to get one in Boston. Boston did what they were supposed to do. The series isn't over yet. We still go to Cleveland. There's a 15-point difference in scoring for Boston, home versus on the road. So, like I said, it's Jekyll and Hyde all over again. So, they'll have to hit those same shots on the road. And Cleveland will be on fire. Just all about knocking them down. But they're employing the same game plan that they did against Philly. It's just, you know, LeBron is better than Ben Simmons, more of a threat than Ben Simmons, but, you know, they let him do what he needed to do. They got a player that can guard him one-on-one and at least be disruptive. You know, LeBron started off with 21 first quarter points, but, you know, he slowed down, you know, for the rest of the game. He slowed down as the remainder. So, yeah, man, it's we still got 2 games. We'll see what happens in game 3 and game 4. But I think Cleveland will take those. Game 5 will be what decides it. That'll be that's the pivotal game right there. So we'll see.
All right, guys, my turn. And you know how I am. I will show respect when respect is needed. Okay. All right, that's what I will do. LeBron James. As soon as I seen him getting on his little tear, I was like, it's a wrap. They lost because nobody else on that team was really scoring. And when LeBron does that, and the team just watches, they watch the ball. And he's the only one scoring. Like literally, he's what? He scored what 40 points or 40 plus points in the last 4 games, 5 games, something like that.
No, he had 15 game 1. Remember they shut him down in game 1.
All right. So I mean, like when he scores like that and he goes on a tear in the first 2 quarters, his tank is gonna be low. His tank is definitely going to be low. It happened to James Harden. LeBron is still mortal. I don't care what nobody says. I understand he's a super freak of nature and all that, but he is still mortal. Still mortal. And you can't just be putting up buckets like that and not getting tired and playing defense. So, I mean, like when that happened, like I had a feeling that Boston was going to come back and take it, and they eventually did. So to now this 2-0 lead for Boston, I believe that maybe, possibly, if Boston could take this next game, it might be a sweep. But I would give this next game to the Cleveland Cavaliers because J.R. Smith, he said that we cannot just be sitting around and watching LeBron score. He said the last couple games we've just sat around and watch LeBron score. So with that being said, and Tristan Thompson making somewhat of an appearance in the playoffs, we don't know. They could take that game, but like I said before, I'm going Boston. And I don't know how everybody else feels about that. But one more thing before we move on to the next team, Tyronn Lue, I don't give a care. Bro, I lost all respect for you. You talking about they playing bully ball. Get that BS out of here, bro. Like, for real. They was not playing bully ball. And he complained because Jason Tatum, LeBron James ran into Jason Tatum's shoulder. Bro, like, if you don't get your soft ass out of here.
I never seen a player go to the locker room that as much as LeBron James, man.
I guess he got hurt. Yeah, as soon as the referee was like, as soon as referee called something, they just bounced out.
I think that shows his mortality, though. We think of LeBron as this big freight train, this big locomotive, but I mean, regardless of who initiated that contact, like that was a shot. I gotta say, like, you know, he might have got run. You know what I'm saying? Just because when you talk about speed and impact, think about the speed LeBron is going towards the basket, not really being able to slow any of his body motion down, running smack into somebody. So I mean, I would think that there was a high probability that he was at least dazed, you know, and you know,
not with that big old head, not with the steroid head.
and Lauren, I will give you that. I'll definitely will give you that. But once he said that about bully ball, and Al Horford could have got injured severely, I don't want to hear that. J.R. Smith pushed him while he was in the air, bro.
No, I think that statement was more of that was more of a statement towards his team more so than it was a shot at Boston. What he was basically trying to say is that if they're going to play like that, in his opinion, that was a message to his team that we need to play tougher too. You know, I think that, you know, this particular series, and he's done it before, you bring JR off the bench as a sixth man.
Okay. I mean, I could definitely see where you're going with that, but I don't see it happening. I definitely don't see it happening.
What's that gonna change for JR? JR has been abysmal. Him and George Hill, they've been abysmal this whole series. What's that gonna change for JR?
What did it change for him? Well, if you watched any of the games where he's come off the bench as the sixth man, what that has allowed him to do is kind of just see the flow of the game before he actually gets into the game, so he kind of understands, you know, the speed in which, you know, he's going to have to operate on. It's just something I've observed throughout the season, is that he's actually a little bit better coming off the bench than he is starting at this point in his career. I think the reason that he's starting right now is because they're trying to ride their horses. I mean, that's why Tristan Thompson is playing, you know what I'm saying, as much as he's playing, because basically what Tyronn Lue and probably, you know, LeBron James has said is, you know, we're going to ride or die with our horses. And if we go down, we're going to go down with the people that, you know, consistently helped us get to the finals all these years prior to.
Okay. I mean, I definitely understand where you're coming from, but when I heard that, I was just like, I didn't take it the way you took it. I just took it as you calling out foul play when there was really no foul play. It was rough basketball, and that's how playoffs basketball should be, and it's kind of supposed to be. Honestly, get big or go home. All right, so let's talk about the second game that happened. Let's talk about the Houston game versus Stephen Curry and the Golden State Warriors. All right, Corey, I'll let you start off first.
So Houston came out with a new game plan that I really didn't think they would do, because they haven't really shown it all year. Constant ball movement. They move the ball when they need to, but that was their game plan. That plan. Then Tony can say they changed nothing. You know, it was clear in their play. What they did game one, it was basically isolation ball, run down and then forcing up a quick shot. You saw that was this game. They had 10. They were 22 in the first half alone, so they were on fire. The shots were knocking down, and as long as that's what you need to do to beat Golden State: ball movement and knocking down all the shots, as many shots as you can, and making sure cutting down on their runs, the runs Golden State does. But they did what they were supposed to do. They controlled the game. They opened up the game for themselves and made it tough for Golden State to really do what they needed to do, maintain their offense, because they were playing catch-up all game, especially at the rate. It got ridiculous at one point, man. It was just threes, just left, right, and it's hard to beat that. There's really no game plan for that. You know, you do your best to run them off the line, but other than that, you just, you know, 3-point shots supposed to be a low percentage shot. So now Houston came with a better game plan, just ball movement, sharing the ball, people rotating, even when they weren't going for three, rotating, cutting, finding themselves for easy layups at the basket. So and it took Golden State out of their game and deflated them. You could see the energy leaving them as the game went on. So yeah, kudos to Houston. They woken up a monster. So we're gonna see. I think Houston's got. I think Houston's got another one in them too. Game 5, but I don't think they can grab one in Golden State, even though I believe it's possible, because they did they did take one by 1 point earlier this year. So I don't know, man. If they play like that, man, we're in for a series. You know, Golden State's not gonna go down without swinging, and they can run their offense in the same manner. So we'll see.
Lauren, what you got for us?
Two things. The one thing that I saw that was different between game 1 and game 2 wasn't necessarily the isolation plays, but it was more so, like Corey stated before, players moving without the basketball. Because what that does is that takes away from Golden State's ability to kind of clog the lane a little bit, because what happens a lot of time when you have a team that has drivers and then shooters is that the drivers will get into the lane and kick out to the shooters. But when the shooters are constantly moving as a defense, you can't clog the lane in order to try to cut off some of those passing lanes and things of that nature. So just that constant movement helped. The other thing I saw, and I think this is a result of coaches and film study, is the year that Cleveland beat Golden State, there was one thing that they kept going back to every single time. That was getting Steph Curry in the pick and roll. Steph Curry cannot play defense. Steph Curry cannot play defense. I don't care what anybody says. He's a terrible defender. He's a terrible defender. And so what they kept doing last night was getting him involved in that pick and roll to where they can dribble around him or shoot over him, one of the two. So I think that definitely exposed maybe the one weakness that Golden State has as a team, even though it's an individual, is Steph Curry's just not a good defender. So if you keep him involved in the pick and roll, not only do you force him to play more defense, but you take away from his energy on the offensive level. He's not healthy, though. He's not saying it, but he's not healthy. He's not 100% at all.
Yeah.
I will say that. Yeah. It's a series. It's definitely a series. Game 3 will show me what I need to know. I'll reserve my prediction until after game 3.
All right. Well, everybody should know me already. The average guy will be popping up right there, right about there. So what I'm going to say is, I'm still going to say it's going to be a gentleman's sweep. This one game was a very good game. It was a very good game. I'm not going to lie. But it's wraps. It's wraps, coach. Chris Paul is kind of injured. I know he probably don't want to say it, but you seen him hobbling. And we know Steph Curry is still kind of iffy right now. So
now you know Houston can shoot like that consistently, right?
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
But do you really believe they will be consistently shooting like that with Golden State, who can go nuclear with 4 different players or 3 different players?
So here's the difference between Houston last year and Houston this year. Here's the difference. I'll give you a name. Clint Capella. Clint Capella is a difference maker, because what you can't do is you can't sag off, because they will throw live to him all day and he will dunk every single ball. The second thing, rim presence. What a lot of people don't realize, because Golden State is so great offensively, is that they actually do drive to the basket quite a bit and get a lot of layups and a lot of dunks, just because you're constantly shifting your defense to stop the 3-point ball as best as you can. So it enables them to get to the basket. Well, what Clint Capella offers is a defensive anchor that says, if anything, I will build a wall so that you have to shoot over me and shoot around me. The minute that you make someone adjust their shot, you give the rest of your defense the opportunity to catch back up, because sometimes it's a difference between a split second and getting a good shot off and getting a defended or a guarded shot off that may or may not go in because you don't have the cleanest of looks. So that's my X factor in this series. If Clint Capella can play solid defense and just keep rolling to the rim and making sure he takes somebody with him, it changes the way Golden State plays on offense and defense.
Okay, but this is what I'm going to say. All right, this is my rebuttal. They can do that. Great. They can do that, right? But if you could just pull up from 2, because KD's what, 7 foot? He's gonna pull up on anybody. Steph Curry, he can drive it in, he can drive it in the lane, and when becomes a double team, he can pass it out. That's what they do. So it's gonna be
Houston's no different. Houston's no different. Like Houston team was built to mirror Golden State's in a lot, where you could have an anchor, you know, in the middle, and then you have shooters on the outside. Because as good as Draymond Green is, his 3-pointer's just iffy. It's good enough that on a good night it goes in, but on a bad night he just better off not shooting them. And so Houston is built very similar. I mean, when you talk about James Harden, Chris Paul, Trevor Ariza, PJ Tucker, Ryan Anderson, Eric Gordon, they have shooters. They have the same number of shooters that Golden State has. Are they as efficient? I would say no, but I think some of that is due to getting CP3, where CP3 is a very, very ball dominant guard. Whereas, Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, they've bought into Steve Kerr's system where they move the ball a little bit more. But, I mean, this is CP3's first year. He's getting older. I guarantee you that as he gets older, he will learn to release some of that pressure as a ball dominant guard and relinquish some of that to James Harden and understand the whole ball movement thing, because it's not Steve Kerr that created this. It's not Greg Popovich that created this whole ball movement. It's actually Mike D'Antoni. Go back to Phoenix. Back when Phoenix had Steve Nash, Maurice Stoudemire, and Sean Marion, and those players, that ball was whipping around. It was going side to side, you know what I'm saying, inside, outside. So it was constantly in motion. He's the one that was really brought that motion, quick shot, live by the 3. Like, he really brought that to the NBA because he brought that from Europe when he was coaching and playing overseas.
Okay, but see, I feel like you're giving James Harden a lot, because his offensive thing is great. Defensive, it's iffy still. But
he's better than Steph Curry.
Yes, that's very true. But when James Harden gets tired in, let's say, mid to early fourth quarter, late third quarter, early fourth quarter, when he gets tired, are we going to be able to rely on Chris Paul to take the load off of James Harden?
I believe so. I believe that's the entire reason that they brought Chris Paul over to Houston, so they could have somebody to share that load, and it would max out James Harden in the playoffs.
But even with this injury now, well, I'm not gonna say it's an injury, but it's a little hiccup.
So Chris Paul has been injured on and off pretty much all year. So I would guarantee you that he's getting around the clock treatment for that injury. Whatever's wrong with his leg, whether it's his knee or whether it's his Achilles or whatever the case may be, I guarantee you, as soon as he got off the court and preparing for the next game, I guarantee you he's getting around the clock treatment. So you do have to be a little bit, you do have to watch him on the court. But again, that's why you counterbalance him. I mean, if it was that serious, trust me, Mike D'Antoni would have took him out of the game just to preserve some of that. But I mean, hell, Chris Paul got 2 fouls in the first 5 minutes, and D'Antoni was like, keep playing. So he trusts CP3, you know what I'm saying, which I think is extremely important in these playoffs. And I'm not disagreeing with you by any stretch of the imagination, but I'm gonna give Houston a little bit more credit, and I won't give Golden State a gentleman's sweep. I still think Golden State has a little bit more than Houston does. Mm-hmm. But watching that game last night, if they can keep the shooting. The shooting I'm not concerned about. Houston has shot lights out all year from 3-point. They made more 3-pointers this year than Golden State has. But if they keep putting Steph Curry in that pick and roll, Steve Kerr's going to have to make a serious adjustment. He's going to have to make a serious adjustment because Cleveland did the same thing and wore Golden State out.
Yeah, I remember that. All right. I mean, I agree with everything you're saying.